Hey guys, Darkovika here, and I know it has been a while since we last did this. Now that the Sims 4 wedding content, I've basically recorded everything, I'm coming back to my normal schedule. Okay, so, let's see. After getting permission from your moms, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your moms that it was so short, she should always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swinging back and forth. "Hey, Lizzie." Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide. "Sakura! Shiloh!" "Hi!" She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud. I don't remember if I was doing voices before, but it's never too late, I guess. In a split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to stand beside her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you, but now Cove was here. You wondered if he would leave too. I love her, she's adorable. "Who's that?"
"It's Cove. He's new."
"I remember. Hi, Cove." This is a terrible voice. I'll work on it. "Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together." She gestured wildly with her arms as if to present the area to the newcomer. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wriggle your toes through the warm sand. Excuse me. "Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas." "You are?" "Yeah, I am. Who else could handle the job?"
Lizzie is the oldest.
"By a lot. My mom said you're Sakura's age." "Yeah?" "Thought so. I'm still the only one in this group with double digits." "What about other kids?"
"Other kids?"
"There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Shiloh is just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth." "Oh." For a second, it looked like he might cry again. Gee, excuse me. But something in his eyes shifted, and he looked back at Lizzie. "What kind of old people? Like moms and dads or grandparents?" "Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids." "Why? We haven't done anything." "Only some of them don't like kids." You interjected quickly, hoping Lizzie wouldn't take things too far. Cove sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't even looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Shiloh was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation.
I met Lizzie and Sakura in school. You'll see tons of kids there once summer is over."
I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end." Shiloh looked down to the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove.
"I like summer vacation a lot too."
All the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Shiloh's discomfort, at how weird she thought Cove was, at something else entirely, you didn't really know. But she laughed, face scrunching up. "Welcome to Sunset Bird Cove. Take a seat, put up your feet, and get used to it." Ugh. You offered him a small smile, and that, at least, looked to reassure him some. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days, when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way sun and lunch and the beach were. During your first summer together, you really liked Cove. He was a fun person to play with, and he seemed to like playing with you too. Of course, that was only the start of things. Alright, so this is basically how this works. I'm going to go ahead and save here. So these are basically memories that you get, and these lower ones are all because I have the DLC, but again, as a reminder, the core game is free, so all of these are what you would get with the core game. So we don't have to do all of these, but I figure since we're doing a lunch play, I don't think I even saw the word lunch in here. Long play, or a let's play even. I could start with maybe some of these, and then if you guys wanted to post in the comments which ones you wanted me to do, I could totally do that. So let's start with shopping. "Come back before it gets dark, alright, sport?" The familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the sail you'd been watching inch slowly across the pavement. Cove waited in front of his dad, pushing his green hair back off his face from where the breeze was blowing it over his glasses. He looked to be paying only a mild amount of attention as he was being handed a few slips of green paper. It reminded you of when you'd first met Mr. Holden, although he's probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Cove's dad seemed to feel your gaze somehow, or maybe you made a noise, because a second later, his eyes were on you. He waved you over with a smile. He looked happy to see you, but you still felt a little weird for getting caught. You've got to learn how to be more sneaky. You brushed your hands together to free them of sand, then jogged over to join the two, smiling at Cove first and then his dad. Sakura, hi. Good to see you again. What excitement are you up to today, Sakura? Stuff. I found a really cool snail across the road. He was slimy with funny eyes and a nice shell. Mr. Holden grinned at your enthusiasm. After you finished answering the question, Mr. Holden's attention returned to Cove, who was preoccupied with folding the bills he had into a tiny rectangle. Sounds fun. You know, Cove was about to hit the stores by the beach. Why don't you go with him? I kind of want to give him like a surfer dude accent. He seems like he'd be a surfer dude. You gave a ready nod, turning to squint in the direction of the stores like you could see the goods they had to offer all the way from where you stood. Oh, is that okay? I don't mind. Great. I'm sure you guys will have loads of fun. Mr. Holden, I can't promise that said surfer dude accent will be correct, but you know. Mr. Holden reached into his pocket and pulled out a leather wallet filled with money. You found it odd, since your moms only ever seem to have cards in theirs. Here. He leaned in to pass a crisp 10 to Cove, giving him a wink and a whisper. Get something for your friend, too. Sure. That's my boy. Cove's dad ruffled his son's hair as he was straightening back up, the bill in his hand still held out towards the green-haired boy. Take care. Cove accepted the bill after a second and slipped it into his pocket. Then with one last nod to his dad, he turned and started walking. You followed after him, intrigued at the possibilities this outing might bring. Cove strayed towards the gentle tide, creeping up the sand, and you fell into place beside him. It was a nice day. The sun was shining, and there weren't many clouds in the sky, though the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being too hot. You took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent of salt and ocean air. When you looked at Cove, he was dragging his feet through the sand a little, and you slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intently. Are you looking for snails? Let's ask if he's looking for shells. Cove startled a little at the sound of your voice and mumbled, sort of. If you see any, you can let me know. You can manage that. You dropped your view to the sand, walking carefully so you didn't step on any. You were good at finding shells. You had a lot of them at home and always found new ones whenever you visited the beach. The comforting sound of the waves filled the silence with pleasant white noise, and you played a little game with yourself as you walked along, getting as close to the water as possible without getting wet. It resulted in you having to run up the sand quickly when a wave rushed in more than a few times, and although Cove threw a few glances your way, he didn't say a word. Let's ask what he wants to go to the shops for. I need a new sand pail. Yeah? What happened to your old one? Cove narrowed his eyes, seeming to think deeply for a second. It disappeared. What? Really? Cove ducked his head down, placing his fingers behind his back. It didn't seem like he was going to continue, so he nudged his arm. How did that happen? Well... Excuse me. Cove opened his mouth, then shut it again, considering. I took it to the beach one day. Uh-huh. When I got home, it wasn't anywhere. You left it there? Nope, it wasn't at the beach when I went back. Then you lost it. It disappeared. What about you? What do you do out here? Let's see. I like looking at fish. They don't like me, so they always swim away if I get close, but they're pretty before that. Cool. Starfish are fun. They aren't going anywhere even if you touch them. A small laugh escaped you. That's true. Once you reached the shopping area, the noise level grew exponentially. No longer just waves and footsteps, but the chatter of people enjoying the lovely summer day, the call of birds trying to find bits of food left behind, and lots of salespeople trying to get attention. You sniffed the air as you walked beside Cove. You could still smell the ocean, but there were other scents now too. Pizza, pretzels, hot donuts. It's nice. The energy surrounding the area seemed to fill you, and there was a bounce in your step as you began looking at all the familiar sights. There were so many things to do, you didn't know where to begin. You looked at Cove, hoping he was just as excited as you were. Cove was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look in his aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out. What's that? Cove pointed to a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables with large, colorful umbrellas blooming from their middles. You couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way, but you knew there must be something worth seeing. Without another word, the two of you hurried over to see what all the commotion was about. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexander! In the center of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat that had 3 long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over it that read, "The Amazing Alexander," in glittery golden script. Why tell people his name if it's already on the sign? Cove hummed with understanding, then turned to walk away just as the amazing Alexander began shuffling a deck of cards. I want to see the show. Cove glanced back at the man. He then briefly lifted his arms up off his sides before returning them to place. Okay. He may not be impressed, but at least he didn't ditch you. You grinned, waving for him to follow you as you raced back to stand in the crowd. Uh-oh, my cat's about to... Hey, he's standing in front of my screen. I love you, Sam, but I can't see. The magic man pulled one card out of the deck, showing it to the curious onlookers. It was a 4 of diamonds. Watch closely. You did, squeezing through a few of the adult onlookers to get a better view. Suddenly, the man snapped his fingers and the card just disappeared. Whoa! Unimpressed Cove. The amazing Alexander, who had earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. Excuse me? What's this behind your ear? Tell me! This had to be going somewhere, and you needed to find out. He smelled like popcorn and candy when he stepped closer. It was great. You felt a tug, and then he pulled the 4 of diamonds out from behind your ear. What? You knew that it couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't get how he'd done it. There was light applause from the crowd, and the man gave a deep bow. This is for you. The magician plucked a pair of balloons from a clump of them tied down at his table. Both were in the shape of a dolphin instead of being a normal circle. And one for your friend, too. Thank you for being my assistant. Wow. Now you were really grateful he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. Pick a card, any card. My uncle does that every time he visits. Not the balloons, the stuff with cards. Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designated for him. Cove was just ruining the fun. You wonder if Cove's whole family was magic. Let's do that one. If so, he was lucky. I'm just gonna be a blissfully happy child. The crowd started to clear some, and you noticed to the side there was a whole rack of brightly colored kaleidoscopes on display. Ooh, I love kaleidoscopes. Oh, Cove, check this out. You shifted your balloon string to your other hand so you could bring the mysterious tunnel to your eye. A whole palette of colors appeared right in front of you, spinning into all kinds of different shapes as you twisted the end of the tube. Cove picked one up and looked through, twisting the tube at the end. After a second, he set it back on the wrap, moving to the other side of the stall. He went under the awning, careful of his own floating dolphin, and you joined him. Did you have places like this in your old town? Cove blinked at you for a moment, and you wonder if he shouldn't have asked. You knew how much he missed that place. Oopsies. Maybe that wasn't a nice thing to do. Not really. You nodded in understanding, looking over at the stalls nearby. Oh, those are cute. While Cove looked at sand pails, you were drawn to a table with colorful keychains laid out on it. They were sewn in the shape of sea creatures, and there was a plaque that read "Handmade" standing proudly in front. There were lots of different types. You saw a dolphin, a shark, a crab, a turtle. I do love me some sharks, but I also really love the turtle. Like, just from the image in the background, I love the turtle. Your hand stopped on the sleeping turtle, just barely poking its head out of its shell. It had flecks of metallic green on its back that caught the sunlight when you picked it up. Heck yeah, sparkly things, booyah. You remembered the turtles you had seen in a movie. You'd been mesmerized by the way they gently glided through the water. You were instantly enamored. Checking the price, though, your heart fell. $6. You didn't know much about money, but you thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. You rarely had more than a $5 bill to your name. Is that what you want? Huh? Oh, it's $6. I didn't bring any money. It's fine. Really, really? Are you sure? Cave took the keychain from your hands, and that was that. He was holding a small yellow bucket for himself, too. I was always going to get you something. I already got the money for it. You beamed, excited at the idea of displaying the keychain somewhere in your room. It was nice of Cove's dad to let Cove buy something for you, too. You had to remember to thank him the next time you saw him. After Cove paid, the two of you stepped out of the store side by side, your balloon dolphins knocking together and spiraling around the air. You watched Cove hold up his new pail to his face, examining it thoroughly. Hey, Cove. Yeah? Thanks for the keychain. Why is your dad... Oh, this is a bad one to ask. This is going to bring up the fact that he tried to give us money to be friends with Cove. Thanks for the keychain. Don't worry about it. Cove looked further down the street where different food carts were lined up. He rested his non-cast arm over his stomach, and just as he did, yours let out a light growl. You hadn't eaten since breakfast, and after all this wandering around, you were definitely ready for some lunch. Let's get some food. Yeah. You two wandered around a short while, looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious, and as the different smells, both sweet and salty, wafted over to you, your stomach growled even louder. After passing up hot dogs, snow cones, ice cream, and pizza, you both agreed on pretzels. Cove got something sweet and cinnamony, and you... chocolate. Oh, wait, I could get the same one. Sweet and cinnamony sounds amazing. I'm gonna get the same one. You licked your lips hungrily as the vendor handed you a pretzel over, ready to take a bite. Your moms didn't like you to eat too much sugar, but this was a special occasion. The little cup of icing looked too delicious to pass on. I said that weird. You found an empty table close enough to the beach that the grit of the sand made terrible noises when you dragged the chairs out to sit down. These balloons are gonna make it hard to eat. Cove placed his bucket on the table as he stared at his still balled-up hand that was wrapped around the string. You opened your mouth to agree before an idea hit you. I know. After carefully placing your pretzel somewhere it wouldn't get sandy, you tugged the balloon dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied it in a delicate bow around his wrist. Oh, look at him, he's adorable. Cove bounced his arm up and down in place, testing the stability of your knot. After watching his balloon jostle around but remain attached, he smiled, satisfied. There, now do mine. He repeated the ritual. Cove struggled somewhat with the cast restricting his fingers on one hand and a string already tangled around the other. Got it. The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork, both hands now free to allow easy munching on your pretzels. You bit into the doughy treat, savoring the taste on your tongue with a smile as you looked out over the ocean. After a time, you finished your pretzel. You were done before Cove. It was boring not having anything to do. You pulled on the string of your balloon to bring it down to your level. Then you held the dolphin in your hands, manipulating it to make it look like it was jumping through the air. If you turned to face towards the beach, it almost looked like it was swimming in the waves like a real dolphin. A laugh came from your side. When you glanced back at Cove, he had the remaining part of his pretzel and the wrapper on the wrapper, and he was gripping his dolphin too. Ooh, I like this one. Mine's name is Merryweather. He's the Prince of Dolphins. Splash, he stars in movies. Cherry, she's an alien. Mine's name is Sam. There's just a regular dolphin. It's an alien or Prince of Dolphins. I want Prince of Dolphins. He wears a crown made of seaweed and all of his friends are merfolk. Every now and then, he'll make friends with a kid and let them ride on his back. You sighed, wishing you could meet a real dolphin like Merryweather. What's yours? Cove considered this question, placing the balloon against the table and resting its free arm across it in contemplation. With a loud pop, the dolphin exploded into ribbons. Oh no, Cove! Oh no! For a second, all Cove did was gape in shock like you. Then his cheeks puffed up, squinting his eyes, and you saw tears start to glisten. Sakura, I'm gonna give him my balloon. You looked at Cove, then up to your balloon, bobbing gently in the air above you. You can have mine. That was better than letting him cry more. Cove sniffled, glancing up at the balloon, then back at you. No, it's yours. I don't want to take it from you. It's okay, really. Cove shook his head. Even though it wasn't your fault, you felt bad. Still, the offer seemed to lift Cove's spirits, and that was good. The passing of Cove's balloon was the last major event of your adventure. In the end, the two of you headed back late that afternoon. You separated on the beach, and while Cove went straight home with his brand new sand pail in hand, you decided to sit for a while. You watched the waves and the sunset fiddling with your new keychain. Another summer day was drawing to a close. It had been a good one, except for the sad final note. And there we go. And basically, if we wanted to go on, we would just hit, and then summer ended. But I think we'll go ahead and leave this episode here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I really hope you're enjoying this, because I am. All 20 of you. I appreciate every single one of you so much. Thank you, seriously, for sticking around and watching this channel, because honestly, I love this channel. I love this experiment. I am dedicated to it. It is definitely a labor of love. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.